I'm Seamus. Thank you so much for coming.
You've got a great cause worth fighting for. I couldn't wait to get here. That said, I expected, well, more people?
So far, there's only the two of us.
But we're highly motivated.
Well, it's a start.
Some people I knew already were dear friends of mine, like Little Gray Cells and Just My Stupid Opinion.
Lots of interesting things. This is absolutely abominable, and the RCMP are really in the shit here, and they know it.
Hi, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here, but I think it's time that I needed to speak up.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Something you watch it on TV, horror movie, you shut it off, you go to bed. We can't shut this off. Every time we close our eyes, the horror movie turns on. So I know for myself, when I close my eyes to go try to go to bed, I picture my parents being shot.
Trying to piece together a story that seems so unbelievable.
Let's have a look at this. I'm going to pause it periodically, and I'm going to try and not lose my shit because I was really angry. Really angry. I'm getting really pissed now. I'll preface this by saying I'm strongly urging all of the victims in this, the victims' families, to launch a class action lawsuit against the RCMP. And I would just love to have the RCMP under discovery. I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lawyer would too.
Mounted police and their stories. Stories of their courage. Stories of their lives filled with hazard, romance, and adventure. The RCMP story this week, Gunslinger.
Oh my goodness, how many windows do I have open? Hello, good evening. Got sound. I always have the microphone off or something or other. All right. Haven't read through this article yet, so we'll read through it together. Maybe we'll stop off and do some other things along the way. I don't know. Marion Suter, hello. Suter? Oh no. Here we go already. Mispronunciation. Blue Nose. Long time. Mark Evans. Deanna. Got notifications from Twitter and Discord. Okay, good. Nikki Lewis. Hello. Brickleberry, Lynn M. Gold Evening. You can't say gold. They censor that word. Don't say gold. Please find the legal justification for that, please. Oh, you're going to have to demonstrate it down the line. Hello and good evening, says Linda. Okay, moving along. Sorry, I have messages just went crazy there for a good moment. We've got Lynn and Lynn McGrath. Hello. Everybody saying hello to each other. Great. KL, how's it going? Michael Penny, here we go again. Michael Juba, hi from Manitoba. How's it going over there? How's the lotto going down? Francis, get $1 million, you come here. Jen, Apple, Cindy, Space Explorer. I like the name. LB, Bush Baby, Darlene. Been missing me. I was on yesterday, Cindy. Hope everything's going good. Happy 24 to those of you who are into that. Good evening, says Beth. Kelly Tibbetts, hello. We've got, do I remember you, Linda? Is it, are you talking to me? Yes, I remember you. Christiana, feed evening all. What is a feed evening? Is that an evening feed? Kendall. No, okay. Loretta, 243 Pugwash. Dan, how's it going? With the hockey? Are you playing hockey? Ricky, what's up, bro? Haven't talked in a while. Should give me a buzz. RCMP undercover agent. Todd, you are too funny. Too funny. You make me smile. I got a message last night about my pronunciation from a family member, and they were having a very bad day. A very bad day indeed. And they said, you know, I just was having a terrible day. So I won't, you know, elaborate upon any further than that. But they said it was good. They got a good laugh with my pronunciation again. So Stewiak, right? Have I got it better now? Nicole. Hopefully I've got it. I read the article already. How do we see the affidavit? That's a good one. I've been searching can law. Some of us know it as can law, but okay. Can Lee. Some of us know it as too. Can't seem to find it. Anybody who does, please let me know. Just say up yours. Okay, I just did. So there you go. Trying to do dishes from the feed evening, I suppose. Linda, how's it going? Is licking windows on the Tel Aviv short bus. Todd's handles are pretty good. Stewiak. Stewie. Oh no. Okay, I'm just not. Okay, Julia Roberts. Chiang. Julia Rock. Why did I say Julia Roberts? Maybe I need to get my glasses before we start this. Stewiak. Didn't I say Stewiak? I'm behind, so we've got Brother Paul. Brother Paul. Hopefully you're saying prayers for us all. I'm praying for everybody. Brother Paul's a wonderful man. Glenn B. Okay. Now, shortly, just before we get to the article, and I've read bits and pieces of it, so I will be honest, I got a notification, and I was on the phone with one of our big helpers in the background. We owe this person, these people, actually there's a few I spoke to today, huge thank yous, because there are people in the background that don't have no presence to be known, but they're there. Working hard, really hard, some of these people. So now, when this notification popped up, so I was like, well, you know, we can go through it together. And then I was like, I don't know, we'll just save the good stuff and see what we come up with. Evening, JD and Donna. All right, I think I've got everybody here. Okay. Side note, on a more unfortunate level, it came to my attention that comments were being deleted by a moderator. We'll just leave it there. And so obviously that can't happen. I don't allow deletion of comments at all. And I don't know how long that's been happening, which is really upsetting to me, because I just figure nobody would do that. So as a result, and obviously this extends to other people who are clearly not into doing that, I removed all of the moderators from this account. So I'm sorry. It is not a personal slight on anybody but those that are, they or those that are guilty of that. And they know who they are. And you should feel deeply ashamed of yourself. And I'm taking notice. Anyway, my apologies to those of you who lost your moderator status. I think just simply for the good of the channel at this point in time, because I mean, I just was really upset to find out that out, and I wasn't, I guess, overly surprised, but I was in a way, you know. But these damages that people wish to do to subvert and do things that probably they shouldn't be doing, it does things to trust, roads trust, and that's exactly what I'm against. This whole process is about trust, and so they or that person or persons who were involved in that knows better, because anybody who's been around me knows I'm not into moderation, censorship. Now, unfortunate. Very sorry. Very, very sorry. Now, let's get to the article, please. And thank you. Shut up, Seamus. Right on. False sightings. Reports of gunfire. Court documents reveal details of RCMP response in Portapic. So again, if somebody does because now moderator status is kind of gone, that's why I generally had it, funnily enough. It wasn't to censor anybody. It was so that people could throw links in. Now that can't happen. So if somebody does know, I'll try and keep an eye out. What news? East Coast. How's it going? How's it happening? I'll try and keep an eye out on the comments better, so that if somebody does find this, I went through CanLaw, I can't find it, so we'll just keep searching around, but I thought it was probably better to get this out now. Initial RCMP response outlined in affidavit filed in response to a lawsuit launched by families of victims. Elizabeth McMillan, posted at 4:29 Atlantic, and last updated 3 hours ago, so an hour ago. Exactly. Isn't that interesting? Here we got all their wonderful doodads. One picture that actually is an identifiable car. RCMP first warned other police forces in Nova Scotia that the suspect should be considered armed and dangerous at 1:07 Atlantic time, April 19th, 2020, through a bulletin. They tweeted a photo of the gunman's replica car at 1017 Atlantic. The RCMP officers, the first RCMP officers to arrive in Portapique, Nova Scotia during last year's shooting rampage, thought they had spotted the gunman, but learned hours later it was a terrified man fleeing through the nighttime woods after discovering his brother gunned down near one of the community's tiny unpaved roads. I think we all know who that is, right? So I guess he was misidentified. Hopefully he wasn't shot at. The mix-up is one of several new details of the confusion at the scene outlined in the RCMP affidavit, quietly filed. That's why you got to watch Fridays and lots of news stories clouding headlines. Usually there may be something underneath it. Last week, in a Halifax court, as part of the defense in a class action lawsuit launched against the force by many of the victims' families. The affidavit is the first time the RCMP has elaborated on exactly what officers did in those early hours after the first officer arrived at the intersection of Portapique Beach Road and Highway 2, about 25 minutes following the initial 911 call, April 18th, 2020. Now, I'm going to try and keep my stuff to a minimum, but is that so? The documents show that officers, and terrible, obviously horrific. What are we at? 14 months in, almost to the day. And this is the first time that they're really elaborating. Think about that. The documents show that the officers on the ground reported hearing gunfire. Oh, funny this. Isn't this something we've been saying for a long time? I know of at least 3 people who have reported this to me down there. Hours. Though police later determined the shooter had left the area, driving along a back road, about 20 minutes after the first officer arrived. Please try to make sense of that. Are they shooting at each other? Another shooter? Or did he not leave? I think it's probably he didn't leave. Because the witness who saw him leave at, 10:35 was it? Which then got changed to 10:45. And there's never been a statement that I've read from the witness. So I have suspicion. One witness also told police shortly before midnight there could be more than one shooter. Just think back to all those videos, all of them. What are we, 200 and some odd videos in now? God only knows after they've been deleting them too. Discussion throughout this. No, can't be. No, they say right away. Gabriel Wortman, a 51-year-old denturist, killed 23 acquaintances and strangers over 13 hours in Portapique and several rural communities in Nova Scotia before being shot dead by police at a gas station north of Halifax on April 19th, 2020. Sorry, which gas station? Oh, was it one of 3? 3 gas stations. 3? Oh, that's right. The big stop is the one. Families of nearly all of the people killed are part of a proposed class action lawsuit, one of several actually, against the RCMP and Nova Scotia government. It alleges the RCMP failed to contain the shooter in Portapique and sent too few officers to respond. It also covers a range of criticisms previously raised about the tragedy, including communication with the public, roadblocks, and notification of families. The proposed class action lawsuit has not been certified. This one bothers me. I know I've been speaking with certain people about this. This is a big problem. This case has to be certified, otherwise it goes poof. And the claims have yet to be tested in court. But you know that the RCMP is probably going to say good things about itself, not really dig itself a deeper hole. The 9-page affidavit sworn out by Superintendent Darren Campbell is the only detailed timeline the RCMP has released since the week of the shootings, when he described how the gunman moved through several communities disguised as a Mountie in a vehicle nearly identical to actual cruisers. The affidavit also states that Campbell believed the gunman intended to kill at least 5 more people. Well, Campbell believed that. Was he down there? I don't know. Including the sister of his common-law spouse, Lisa Banfield, and that it was ultimately Banfield's family who shared the photo of the replica RCMP cruiser. 3 officers entered Portapique on foot. The court documents don't pinpoint when the police identified their suspect, but note the first person who called 911 relayed that her husband had been shot by a neighbor, a denturist, who drove police cars. See you later, Michael. Sorry about your phone. We have some discrepancies about the first 911 calls. This one's a bit of an interesting one. There's certain other people that have been phoning too. First officer on the scene also spoke with a man who had been shot in the arm while driving and who identified the gunman by name as his neighbor and said he drove police cars. Not decommissioned police cars, but drove police cars. And we're missing the fact that he was shot in the head too. But he was actually shot in the shoulder. I don't know how quite this is working out. At least according to the warrants. I don't know. Changing injuries. Or bad warrants. Something very funny going on. Campbell stated, 1 officer stayed at a roadblock set up at the intersection to the subdivision with a man who had been shot. 2 officers initially entered the community on foot and were joined shortly thereafter by a 3rd. Calls, meanwhile, went out for backup starting at 10:35, at which point 4 RCMP units were on the scene. Oh, but he just escaped. Oops, we'll change that one. Within minutes, he said, the senior officer at the RCMP Communication Center alerted senior management in the district, who activated the force's critical incident program with requests for the provincial tactical team, dog handlers, and 7 additional units to head to the corner of Colchester County, where several homes were burning. 10:35, several homes. Officers thought they heard gunfire. By 11 p.m., the 3 RCMP officers who were walking up along the unpaved roads of the subdivision discovered a burning Ford Taurus, a building in flames, and someone's lifeless body. Would that be on the road or on the beach? Which is it? Wonder who might have seen that. They thought they saw their suspect approaching when a beam of a flashlight broke through the darkness. But the documents state the light disappeared and the officers thought the man had bolted into the woods. Don't phone me. I don't want my phone to light up. Okay, I think the timeline's a bit sketchy, so we'll probably move past that. They also thought they could hear gunfire, which continued for hours. Well, but he's gone. Don't you know? 250, I think, was the last one I know of. Campbell stated RCMP members, oh yeah, here it is. Maybe it's the same person. RCMP members reported hearing it at least six different times between 10:35 and 2:50 in the morning. Not something I haven't said for quite a long time. But good to see that they finally, I don't know, maybe kind of fess up. But who knows how this will evolve. Around 11:55, a witness told the Mounties there might be multiple shooters. The affidavit does not say who reported the information or on what basis. Of course. Previous encounter with the gunman. CBC News previously reported RCMP officers knocked on some doors and ordered residents to leave, but others slept through the night. I think that was actually out in the CBC first day, even before this was done. There are only about 50 homes in the community, some of which are seasonal cottages. The affidavit said staff at the communication center in Truro were trying to call phone numbers associated with addresses in the community to advise people to shelter in place. It's not clear how many people were alerted to the danger. I'm sensing the blame game going on a little bit. Passing the buck. It's also not clear how many RCMP officers were on the ground at Portapique that night, though 23 units had arrived on the scene by midnight. Units often refer to police vehicles, which could carry more than one person. But we're not going to tell you exactly how many people. We don't know. It's an ongoing investigation. Members of the RCMP emergency response team dispatched from headquarters in Dartmouth arrived in Portapique at 12:49, according to the documents. CBC News previously reported it was around that time that officers rescued 4 children who'd been hiding in the basement of a home after their parents were killed. They remained on the line with the dispatcher until it was safe to leave. I love this ownership of information being reported. Time will be a testament. Part of the tacticals team role was to start looking for a gunman using thermal imaging and police dogs. One of the officers who responded overnight had encountered the gunman before when RCMP ticketed him for speeding February 2020 at Dorrington. When the witness described that the gunman was driving a car that resembled a police car, the member recalled a traffic stop and circulated the photo of the gunman's license, speed, and rear of his Ford Taurus vehicle. Interesting. The court documents state the officers shared the images with other officers in Portapique, those in charge of managing the response. Thought somebody else provided. It's not in the warrant. Cruiser photo sent by gunman's in-laws. Interesting. Search warrant documents later prepared by the RCMP state that Wortman was not driving the 2017 Taurus that he used in the shootings when he was pulled over 3 months before the rampage. That was 2013, wasn't it? He was behind the wheel of one of the 3 other decommissioned police vehicles he bought through the federal government auctions in recent years. This one's even questionable. How many vehicles has he actually purchased? Was he in possession of? Early on April 19th, 2020, police were still trying to track down the vehicles he owned. They enlisted Halifax Regional Police to search the gunman's Dartmouth home when they reported finding a former police vehicle covered in snow around 2 a.m. 2 others were burning in Portapique. I don't remember seeing snow on the ground, but I don't live there, and my memory's pretty shady at times anyways. The court documents state police didn't obtain a photo of the gunman's vehicle with nearly identical RCMP decals until 7/22, when one of Banfield's relatives shared it. Well, I thought somebody else did. Wasn't that on CBC Fifth Estate? A few minutes later, officers in Portapique determined there were no guns in either of the 2 decommissioned police cruisers that were burning. I guess they burned out? Oh, at 7/22. Yes, okay. I don't know how half the stuff survives fires. Metal melts in them in the other photos. Several false alarms. By 1 a.m., April 19, 2020, Campbell said the RCMP had set up 4 roadblocks on Highway 2, the lone highway leading in and out of Portapique. Ooh, that's different. Snow at 1 a.m. Okay, says Michael. Oh, is Tammy here? Sorry, Darren's in here. We got. Oh, hello. Hey, Tammy. How's it going? Around 2:20, officers located a man in the woods and determined he wasn't a threat. Well, Clint Ellison wasn't named in the court documents. He spoke to CBC News April 2020 about his ordeal. How long is this one? Oh, this one's 7 minutes and 5 seconds long. If you ever want to see the 9-minute interview, let me know. Or the 8-minute one, too. I've got that. Oh, they just kept clipping it. Anyway, Ellison wasn't the only possible sighting of the suspect that day. The court documents show that 3 times, at 1:24 a.m., 3:23 a.m., and around 8:30, police were called to investigate suspicious activity in the western part of Portapique, outside the subdivision where the killings occurred. All the cases were false alarms, but it took about half hour for each to determine there was no threat. I think these times are very critical to the story. They will be. That morning, after police responded to reports of people killed in Tibert and Wentworth, and RCMP tweeted the photo of the replica cruiser, someone reported seeing the vehicle near Stewiacke, headed south. Someone else reported it was on Highway 101 near Sackville. Truro police also descended on Sobeys in Laurel. Aha! Oh, don't you know? March? Oh, Sobeys was way back at the beginning. Elmsdale was March. Find the times. Gunman on the move again. Shortly after 9:30, someone reported that an RCMP vehicle was leaving the highway in Wentworth where a woman was found dead. Shortly after 9:30. I'm going to have to factor all this in. I'm just going to keep reading, though. Within minutes, multiple callers reported a house fire in Wentworth, further north, the documents state. Adding that, people heard gunshots in the Hunter Road area earlier. Yeah. They didn't call for help until noticing the home burning. Sure about that one? Rhetorical question to those in higher places. Things happened quickly after that, Campbell said. The emergency response team from Halifax and one from Moncton, New Brunswick, arrived at around 9 a.m. after having been called the night before and started trying to catch up with the gunman. The documents don't mention that the gunman stopped at a Petrocan. When is this dated? Oh, 5 days ago. Moving along. No helicopter available. Hundreds of 911 calls. Hundreds. The documents also lay out some of the challenges police faced. An RCMP helicopter police requested from Moncton, New Brunswick at 11:10 on April 18, 2020 was grounded for maintenance. Several documents obtained by CBC News through the Freedom of Information laws show the RCMP requested a helicopter from Provincial Department of Lands and Forestry around 6 a.m. It wasn't equipped to fly that night. Yes, there's only one difference between the car. I would get in that car, said officers. The affidavits said over the 13-hour manhunt, the RCMP Operational Communication Center answered 480 calls, about 60% of which were related to the shootings. RCMP dispatchers were not able to answer 74 calls. Campbell also addressed why police did not send an emergency alert, noting that it had never before been done in Canada in response to an active shooter, though he said officials planned to send one shortly before the gunman was killed. Well, you never done it before, so, well, we just better not do one. Twitter was used to communicate, documents said, based on past experiences using 2014 shootings, Moncton, New Brunswick, where 3 officers were killed. Other people were sent to. Social media posts and tweets have been considered an effective way to communicate quickly with the public. This determination has been based on direct access to social media by police and the fact that RCMP social media is monitored by and rebroadcast or reported by news media. Just never send it any messages. Cats and such rolling around for hours. Campbell said in the affidavit, a joint federal and provincial inquiry is looking at the cause, context, and events during the massacre, including how police and various federal and provincial agencies responded. How many were there again? I think I heard 13. Was it 13? Came and helped? I don't even know 13 other agencies, well, I suppose. But we definitely had the military's involvement. Yes, I saw something about that. Military definitely has helicopters, and you have a sizable military presence in Nova Scotia. It will also examine intimate partner violence and the gunman's access to firearms. Public proceedings are scheduled to begin October 26, 2021, and its final report expected November 2022. Well, you've got some incorrect data in this one. Better clean it up. Okay. So, there's lots of good new stuff to chew on there, for sure. Now, I was going through because somebody excellent pointed out this morning about the mandate. So I actually went through a little bit more thoroughly and read the acts, and I'm still not done, but I do have some concerns which I thought I should raise at some point in time. One moment. Well, don't you know they had an article about how cyber problems, the RCMP had a press release about cyber problems yesterday. Yeah, of course. Just in Nova Scotia, of course. Now, actually, let me just save this somewhere. Computer is not happy. What are you guys' observations? I know you've been making lots in there. Perhaps we should touch those first. Always great to have such good help. Now, let's go back to some of your comments here. Hard to track all the lies. In an office with string and paper taped all over it. Many highlights. If you can do it with, yeah, wow, shocking. I can't. My mind is a stew. And my computer is packed. Well, what am I on? 6 hard drives. Now, there's just too much stuff going on. They knew exactly how many members there were. Absolutely. Great point, Darren. Rarely more than one person, serious hazard. But in most cases, you only have one person per car. Same in HRM. Thanks for that observation, Apple. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not triggering anger. But Griffin was evacuated for sure 100%. That's what they say. Around 12, but that's kind of a shaky one too. 10. Always keep recordings and paper files. Tammy's way ahead. Some people don't. Not saying anybody, but I'm just saying it's always good to keep files, manila folders, and dates and times of phone calls and all that stuff, so that you can have a reference to go back to, especially anything legal on any issue. Then you can consult it later. Thank you, Blue Nose. That's very nice. I won't show that. Since we do have photos of the vehicles of someone stopped for speeding. Yes, very interesting. Well, obviously that's an internal thing, I'm guessing. But it wasn't the person who said that they gave the photo. Was it? No. Oh, you got to go? All right. Take good care. I doubt there was a buildup of snow. There may have been some snow around it showing it hadn't been moved recently. Ah, okay. So that's why the buildup to snow statement, possibly. Neat observation. How many cop cars Lisa owned? Well, you see, because it's jointly titled, I think, some of this stuff. How many cop cars did she own? How many pieces of property does she own? Hello, Blanks. 9 o'clock. Well, it's very good to have you with us. I should catch up here. Can I start over? Yes, I'm sure everybody. I don't have memory. When I mute a microphone, it's bad enough, right? Because then I have to repeat what I just said, and it doesn't come out the same way. What's with the cheesecakes? Everybody in the cheesecake. Hey, I remember sober. It was a false call. Yes, they did. They did. Absolutely, they went in before. So it's not good to lie on affidavits because that's called perjury, especially when you have a name on them. I don't think you can really pass the buck on some of this stuff. I'm late for everything, still making dinner. Hopefully it's good. Oh, the bonging out. Yes, the bonging out. Felix was sure to build that in. Bonging out radio. Well, that's why we had to. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Darren says the helicopters are available. What's wrong with Coast Guard helicopters? Well, that's interesting. I've never even thought that. Great point, Bush baby. There's lots of helicopters around down there. 2014, Facebook and Twitter used. Well, I guess they didn't even get to the Facebook part with Nova Scotia, right? I know Leather seemed to think they did, but no, that was a fail. Lots of military bases. Okay. Didn't get notification, Caper. Welcome, welcome. Oh no. Why did it do that? It just goes back, resets everything. Now I don't even know where I am. Okay, I think I'm about here. Almost getting caught up. L'Oreal? Yes, I use L'Oreal. It's fabulous. I'm sure a lot of people would have come to the aid. You know, I understand that they can't be liable or anything like that. So, yes, so true. I like the subversive people. Those ones are wonderful. The timing of the document is interesting. Everything's in timing. Rule 1, write it down. Excellent advice. Ah. Good question. Good question. Didn't mention the white Mercedes. Wasn't that not there on the first check? I think it supposedly was in the garage. Is their claim, I think. Hello, Leah. Leah? You told me, and I've forgotten. RCMP member familiar with Gabriel Wortman, traffic stop. The car he was driving, but there's a car 54 story. Very interesting how that came to pass too. I can't say legal stuff because I'm not qualified to do so. They're alluding, yes, that it's Dorrington. That was the car 54 story. Aha. That's true. How many times do you get pulled over by the police and they take pictures of your car? Interesting. Dorrington, same last name. Frank? They already gave him the car. I have my opinions on the car, but I don't know if we'll ever. Every time they get caught in a lie, change narrative to account for their changing story. Absolutely, it's an ongoing process. What was it that Leather said? We're still putting the story together. Do you remember that? At that press conference? He said that. We're still putting the story together. I wonder if he was alluding to something more there, or he's just being Freudian slip. Who first pulled into the Petro? Why was there an ERT member at the Petro? Why were there 3 gas stations involved? Okay, thank you. They never once answered my call. You called all night. Hello, Nova Scotia citizen. Coast Guard go up and down the bay, Portapic, all the time. I did see an interesting photo. I tried to ask about it, but I haven't heard anything back. Car 54 story. Dynamic and fluid. Something's dynamic and fluid. Pics of the car could just be dash cam, right? All right, now let's save this here. I just need to save 3 things and get your read on a couple things here. Let's do this. It's windy down here. Is it windy up near you guys, Tammy? Why did it do that? That wasn't what it was supposed to do. Yes, I want to overwrite. Are you going to save? No, of course not. Great. Okay, here we go. Good. Okay. Slowly getting there. Sorry. My computer's not happy. All right. Now, hopefully that should be it. Okay. It's a nice day, though. This is what I want. Okay. So in the mandate, it says the following. Perform their duties in such a way to ensure that the conduct of the joint public inquiry, proper noun, does not jeopardize any ongoing investigation or any other investigation, and provide notice that the government institution responsible for any ongoing investigation or proceeding about any potential jeopardy identified by the commissioner that could result from the conduct of the joint public inquiry. That statement there gives me pause. Remember how much we hear about can't comment because of the ongoing investigation? Well, does that mean then they can't really comment at the, quote, joint public inquiry? There are special rules written for all this. I think, frankly, there should be maybe a royal commission at this point in time, and I'm going to surface some information I've come across that may cause some more questions at point here. Not to disclose publicly or any report any personal information as defined in Section 3 of the Privacy Act or subsection 3.1, the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, Nova Scotia, or personal information as defined by Section 3, Personal Health Information Act, Nova Scotia, that has been received in evidence during any portion of the joint public inquiry conducted in camera, unless the person to whom it relates consents, or in the opinion of the commissioner. There's a lot of opinions going on here. Again, we got to go look at the commissioners then closely. The public interest in the disclosure outweighs any invasion of privacy that could result from this disclosure. Make any disclosure referred to in paragraph 5 in a way that minimizes to the greatest extent possible any invasion of privacy that could result from the disclosure. Okay. So let's have a look at what they're referring to. I should have labeled this. So I believe this is health. Is this health? Maybe this is access to information. I'm sorry. I do probably actually have them open on another tab. Interpretation. So I think this is section 3, right? What was that? So this is the Privacy Act. Section 3, in this act, administrative purpose, information about an individual used the information process as an individual. Okay, skipping ahead here. Personal information means information about an identifiable individual that is recorded in any form, including, without restricting, the generality of the foregoing. Information related to race, national, and ethnic origin, color, religion, age, marital status of the individual. Remember the characters that we've got in this story, right? Keeping this in mind, and then about how much will they be releasing, or how much will they actually even go into, because they'll cite, well, we can't really do that. Ongoing investigation, or may violate privacy, or may violate Health Act. Information relating to the education or the medical, criminal, or employment history of the individual, or information relating to the financial transactions in which the individual has been involved. Any identifying number, symbol, or particular assigned to the individual. Licenses and things like that. Any addresses, fingerprints, or blood type of the individual. The personal opinions and views of the individual, except where they are about another individual or a proposed proposal for a grant, a award, or any other prize in an individual institution. Correspondence sent to the government institution by the individual that is implicitly or explicitly of a private or confidential nature, and replies to such correspondence that would reveal the contents of the original correspondence. Again, just think about the different people in this story, how this may apply or may not apply. In the views of the opinions of an individual about the individual, another individual about the individual, the views or opinions of another individual about the individual, the views or opinions of another individual about a proposal for a grant reward, the name of the individual where it appears with other personal information relating to the individual, or where the disclosure of the name itself would reveal information about the individual. Information about an individual who is or was an officer or employee of a government institution that relates to the position or functions of an individual, including the fact that the individual is or was an officer or employee of the government institution. The title, business, address, or telephone of the number of the individual, the classification, salaries, range, responsibilities of position held by the individual, the name of the individual on a document prepared by the individual in the course of employment, the personal opinions or views of the individual given in the course of employment, the fact that the individual is or was ministerial advisor or a member of a ministerial staff, as defined by the information about an individual who is or was performing services under contract for a government institution that relates to services performed, including the terms of the contract, the name of the individual, and the opinions or views of the individual given in the course of the performance of their services. Information relating to any discretionary benefit, financial nature, including granting of a license or permit conferred on an individual, including the name of an individual and the exact nature of the benefit. Licenses don't always have to drive cars. Information about an individual who has been dead for more than 20 years. Okay, so there's one. We've got three to go through. Do you think that this may cause problems? It's very discretionary as to whether they're going to choose to give any information on anybody. All kinds of information. Interpretation. 3.1. This would be, 3.1 is Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, Nova Scotia. Background information means any factual material Uh-oh. A public opinion poll, a statistical survey and appraisal, economic forecast, environmental impact statement, or similar information, final report on an audit, performance efficiency of public body. I'm seeing very big problems here. I'm seeing why it took months and months, but they had their back pocket full for a recourse because they may pull these ones out. In this act, agent in relation to custodian means the person. This is, I believe, the Health Act. With the authorization of the custodian acts for or on behalf of the custodian in respect of personal health information for the purposes of the custodian and not the agent's purposes, whether the agent has the authority to bind custodian, is paid by the custodian, or is being remunerated by the custodian, and includes, but not limited to, an employee of a custodian volunteer who deals with personal health information, custodian's insurer, a lawyer retained by the custodian's insurer, liability protection provider. You know, like doctors and things. Medical records and things. Collected in relation to personal health information. Capacity means the ability to understand information that is relevant to making a decision related to the collection, use, or disclosure of personal health information. And the ability to appreciate the reasonably foreseeable consequences of a decision or lack of a decision. Collect in relation to personal health information means to gather, acquire, receive, gain access, or obtain the information by any means from any source. Common client registry means the provincial database that is the master index to all eligible to receive insured services. This is usually in reference, obviously, to your health insurance and things like this, but also refers to disclosure of personal health information. I don't know if there may be a personal health information issue in this story. All non-residents who have received insured services from the province, common law partner of an individual means another individual who has cohabitated with an individual in conjugal relationship, a period of at least 1 year. Okay, custodian, it means any individual or organization described below who has custody or control of personal health information as a result of or in connection with performance of a person's or organization's power or duties, regulated health profession, or a person who operates a group practice of regulated professions, the Minister of Health Promotion and Protection, District Health Authority under Health Authorities Act, hospital records and things, the Isaac Walton Killam Health Center, I'm not familiar with that, but I don't live there, the Review Board under the Involuntary Psychiatric Treatment Act, Continuing Care Facility, Canadian Blood Services, any individual or organization or a class of individual or class of organization prescribed regulation as a custodian, de-identifying information as information that has all identifiers removed. You know, where's my prop? Somewhere. Sharpie, where art thou? Identify an individual where it is reasonably foreseeable. In the circumstances, it could be utilized either alone or with the information to identify the individual. Disclose in relation to personal health information in the custody or under the control of custodian or a person means to make information available or to release to another custodian or to another person or to a commission, but does not include the use of the information. Domestic partnership means domestic partnership as defined by the Vital Statistics Act. Remember, there was a lot of humming and hawing with the powwow. Remember that? I do. Somewhere I've got the clip on my, what press conference was that? The 28th, I believe. Can't define. Healthcare number, unique identification assigned to by the minister to individuals under the Health Services Act. Healthcare means an observation, examination, assessment, care, service, or procedure in relation to the individual carried out, provided, or undertaken for one of the following health-related purposes: the diagnosis, treatment, maintenance of an individual's physical or mental condition. The prevention of disease or injury. I know I've seen a couple of interesting things floating around about sickness. Who do you think has custodian rights to those records? The promotion and would have to grant permission to those records. The promotion, protection of health, palliative care, the compounding, dispensing of selling drug, health care aid, service, device, product, equipment, or other item to an individual or for the use of an individual under a prescription or a program or service designated as healthcare provider service in the regulations. I think a certain person also was possibly getting contracts for helping people with their teeth, possible. Just saying. Identifying information means information that identifies an individual where it is reasonably foreseeable in the circumstance it could be utilized either alone or with information to identify the individual. Individual in relation to personal health information means an individual, whether living or deceased, with respect to whom the information was or is being collected or created. Information practices in relation to the custodian and prescribed entity means the policies of the custodian or prescribed entity for actions in relation to the personal health information, including when, how, the purposes for which the custodian routinely collects, uses, and discloses, retains, de-identifies, destroys, or disposes of personal health information. Well, that just went in the dustbin. Don't worry about that. Where's my, I should turn on my shredder. But don't worry. We stopped all that back in October because we needed to tell people about it. Insured services means insured hospital services, insured professional services, as defined by the Health Services and Insurance Act. Minister of Health, person includes partnership, association with any other entity. Personal health information means identifying information about an individual, whether living or deceased. And in both recorded and unrecorded forms, if the information, like you can't go and talk to somebody about it, call them as a witness. Relates to the physical, mental health of an individual, including information that consists of the health history of the individual's family. Relates to the application, assessment, and eligibility. It's not ineligibility, sorry, eligibility and provision of the health care to the individual, including the identification of a person as a provider, health care to the individual. relates to the payments, the eligibility of healthcare to an individual, relates to the donation, the individual of any part, bodily substance. I do believe there was a mind that was shipped off somewhere. Was that right? There was actual autopsy on the physical brain. Somebody in this story. There was also the psychiatric autopsy. Quite like that one. Or is derived from the testing examination of such body part or bodily substance, blood, individual registration, information including the individual health number, or identifies the individual substitute decision maker. So basically, I think, I'm reading through stuff, but could you see that this could be a problem? Because I certainly can. A massive problem. And given maybe the lack of independence and the open playing field, which they can make decisions, this could be a major problem. Like huge. Both for the families, because they wouldn't get that information, and for the final report. So I see this as extremely problematic. I'm not going to touch anything else on the commission, though I have a bunch more, which I'm not going to bore you with tonight. But this is problems. To me, problems written all over it. You remember how long it took them to do this? And obviously, I support privacy and such. But when it can be used as a skirt, and we've seen a lot of skirts, right away, we already have ongoing investigation, could just nullify anything we talk about. We just won't go there. Well, we already know it's an ongoing investigation. Hasn't the RCMP said we won't talk about anything because of the ongoing investigation? So they themselves have said this. They've set themselves up, and then the commissioners can just turn around and say, well, there's an ongoing investigation. We can't really go there. The use of the joint, I like the proper noun, joint public inquiry. This is a one-off design, special. Like the review. Of course, he had 9 days? 9 days, and he's like, or it wasn't even that, I don't think. It's like, oh yeah, I've got this other one in the back pocket. I forgot. Plan B. Just like protected B, siloed information. Ouch. All right. Let's go back through some of your comments here, please, and then I will not keep you. Driver's licenses or gun licenses. Licenses fall under Privacy Act. I said a long time ago, never going to hear from a certain person in this story, and you won't, in my opinion. And it's been crafted to tank in so many ways, many more ways than just possibly this. Many more ways. They've been busy in that war room that I spoke of right at the beginning. The war room. It goes, and it went into overdrive right away. It set up the PR. It set up all of this stuff. Lawyers just sitting around writing stuff, trying to figure out how can we get out of this one. Problems. While they're protecting someone, something is beyond stinky. Like really stinky. I personally would have a hard time thinking that a royal commission would have a different set of goals. We need an investigation inquiry conducted under the direction of an allied force. Yes, but I did say at the beginning that I think the only way this is going to be done, possibly, is if the families at least choose the commissioners. They are the ones, right? You guys are the ones, Rick, that are the most gravely affected by this. What do the special goop that they call family members now? They have some horrific name. All these word salads that they put. Interested party or something, like most interested party, or I mean, sad. Who's the most affected? You guys, right? We all are affected by this as Canadians. And I so much appreciated hearing that from your mom and from you and from other family members. They don't want this to be ever revisited on anybody again. Now, I think if we live in a real world, there's going to be problems coming down the road. We all know that. But we have to do our level best to make sure that this never occurs again. Whatever happened down in Nova Scotia, the lengths that these people have gone to, and this is something not individual cases and this kind of stuff. Like, it's not my forte, but I'm very familiar with intelligence. Not a professor of it or anything, but that's what I studied in global geopolitics. That's what I do. And so to understand the way that they operate is one thing. To be in the eye of the storm is something I never could conceive of half the shit that has happened since this started. But I know that we as a group, collectively, and though it may not look that big on the surface, it is doing major damage. You guys are doing major damage. The ones that aren't subverting, right? The ones that just, even though may disagree on things here and there, collectively are working together to bring information out, truth, and answers to people that most of you don't even know. Why? Because you're good people. Nobody in this story has some crazy hidden agenda. You're not going to get anything out of it other than, I know in my case, my hidden agenda is pretty not hidden. I had a friend who called. So what you do, right? You help. And our society is fucking lacking this shit, man. We got to hold these people accountable so that they don't have a free pass next time. Because it becomes problematic. It's a slippery slope. And it has been for a very, very long time. Because nobody has stood up and just said, no, you have to stop this. You absolutely cannot be allowed to do this. Not with my money, not as my employee. You will not jeopardize people. The RCMP knew of what was happening down there. And that is probably the big story. It is the very big story. The one that they don't want to touch. They don't want people looking at. Before this started. Not because they had a report or something like that. No. Otherwise, they would just say, oh, yeah, it's just a report. We just missed that. It fell into the shredder or something. They've already done that. Don't go and delete information. You don't set up subversion groups. I heard today that there is a department down in Dartmouth, 150 people approximately. Who are just doing the damage that we're going through, the technical stuff, the subverting. Fuck off. Don't have time for you. Think about your conscience. That's what you have to identify with. People have lost this one, I think, in many cases. They're just like, well, it's not my problem. NIMBY, it could be. And any RCMP member out there knows other people in their own force who have fallen prey to the force that we pay to protect us. The one that has the 3 O's that don't really have much to do with you or I. We have to go back to a system where people and officers are respected. This is doing major damage on all kinds of sides. For officers, great officers that actually don't want to be treated, and it's abrasive because then people get aggravated. People don't trust the officers, then the officers aggravated, and that process is just continuing. The friction can stop. You have to get rid of the lot at the top. You have to rebuild it from ground zero. As much as I love that uniform and everything, what it represents, what it has grown to, is some beast that is not a teddy bear that you go and pick up at the airport for your touristy friends. It's something else entirely. And members know that too. This is up to us to change it, and we're doing it. We're doing it. You guys are doing it, right? Amazing work. Just because you got a heart, because you got a conscience, because you live here, because you don't want it to happen to you. Seems pretty reasonable. You don't need to pay anybody or do anything special for that. Don't need accolades. You're just a good person. Anything that about them or anything to do with people is just it's not a good way. I mean, you know how it is. Maybe they're just going to fill in the lines. They already have some conclusions drawn. Most certainly the gender bias that they put into here, because I'm still waiting. And this is the world that we live in, post-factual world, where you can just say, well, that happened. Give me one shred of evidence. Maybe my mind is too legally guided, but just something. Because there should be mountains of it. Friends, hospital reports, all kinds of stuff. No, can't. Somebody wrote it somewhere, and we heard maybe something from somebody who's charged and could be charged with a great deal more and has a lot to lose. Usually people like that kind of stretch the truth, cover their own ass. Noticing it anywhere else? I certainly do. kinds of good comments in here. Anyway, I'm not going to keep you beyond this. There's so much I have left to do, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and stories are making news. And you have to keep this one in mind. Please, please, all of you. This story would have disappeared. We have good people helping us that are in positions to know these things. It would have gone poof. And that is from here. You. Right? You guys. This is the other, what was it, not that long ago. You know, we had the masking of one story, Lisa going to court. And what did they have? They had some balls on that they went on about for 4 or 5 minutes. And then they dropped some little 30-second clip in about Lisa going to court. And now it's right on the front page, quietly introduced their affidavit. Anyway, take good care. Please be good to one another. You know, you're doing it. You're doing it. Remember, we're very lucky. We're not in family shoes right now. And I pray and I thank God every day. So, God bless you all. God bless the 23.